Hello and welcome to another episode of The Untold. This is the show of the untold stories behind great individuals, especially those in very amazing careers and paths that led them to this moment. For today's episode, we have Hamad AlJenaei, who's a theatrical actor, stage producer, and director, multi-talented. He's going to be talking to us all about his very, I would say, creative path of career, basically Shakespeare, all about Shakespeare, what led him to tackling Shakespeare on the big stage. With that in mind, we're going to be taking a quick break. We'll come right back after this one. And we're back with Hamad AlJenaei, who's I'm going to listen out. It's actor, theatrical actor, director, producer. Did I get that correctly?
That's correct.
Yeah. So at first, I'd like to welcome you on The Untold.
Thank you so much for having me in The Untold. I'm very excited about it and looking forward about the questions you have to ask.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that's exciting about this episode is that we don't have a lot of, theatrical actors here on The Untold. So whenever we do have one, it's a very special occasion. And it's even more special occasion because you're kind of into Shakespeare plays and stuff. So, you're in a very odd place of being so unique and, so special. The platform's all yours.
Well, it is. Shakespeare has always been part of my life since the age of 6. And my first theatrical experience with Shakespeare was in 97. At the very young age, somehow like around 8 or 9, where my aunt took me to see a play. It was like a touring company.
Oh, mashallah.
It was at the Shamia Theatre, as I recall. It was a production of Macbeth. And what they did, surprising, and I still remember to this day, the way it was told, the way it was performed, and audience were so engaged with it. And you talk about in the 90s, so it was a huge different time than it was, and because this was the period, in most cases of everywhere around the world, Shakespeare was so well loved in films and cinema in the 90s, if you recall that. So at one point, while watching that play, immediately just hit on me. There's something about it that really struck. I couldn't understand the language, but somehow I was just amazed by the whole atmosphere of that play. And I went to a little bit of research. I told my aunt about it the very next day. Do you have anything about the play or something? So she gave me a little bit like a pamphlet or program of the thing with the text itself, which was like, and still couldn't find. So there was like a glossary in the back. What they used to do is like finding the language.
It's like a cheat code for the
play. It's like a cheat code like that. And a year later, in 98, on my birthday, I received like a present, which is like a package, a hard copy of the complete work of William Shakespeare, for my parents. And it was like, just every night, just having one chapter from anything from sonnets to his plays and throughout. My late father, like Hamad, showed me a movie version of Hamlet.
Okay.
And that was at the Kenneth Branagh version in 97, 98, starring Julie Christie, Kate Winslet, Derek Jacobi, the late Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Charlton Heston,
all
that. And that was a 4-hour version. Imagine watching that. And she convinced me to watch that film in particular. And I still couldn't get the essence, but there was something about that storytelling of that film. And then from moment on, during my school years, I do a lot of activities and such, and one of them was a drama kind of activity.
Drama class,
where I met my English teacher, Jane Merriman, who sadly no longer with us. Very sweet lady, and she taught me so much, and how theatrical base and English barriers, and one of them was Shakespeare. And the first time ever was a scene from Julius Caesar, which is the Mark Antony speech, friends, Romans, countrymen. And I was so nervous and scared. And he convinced me to go on stage and say those words,
recite the whole
thing. Bear in mind, I was very kind of fear or nervous, couldn't speak, and those were. But I know inside me was saying, "You got to do it." And the moment was when I was on the front of the class, and she told me, "Say it." And
She
that
just put you on the spot.
Around like 20 kids or 25 kids in the room. you know, who have no interest. There are some who might be interested, but not everyone was that
Yeah.
impact. They just want to do their grades and then they can leave.
Yeah, they just want to get the
They
easy
get the
A and
easy
get
A's
out.
and just
Yeah.
get out, you know. But no, not for me. I was just like, belched out the whole speech, and I was like, something rang the bell, and and at that moment on, there was something special about it.
Yeah.
So of course, with research over the years, details and what's performance, what's a theater, what's a drama, what are those ideal, you know?
Yeah.
Why is it so? What is a blank verse? What is iambic pentameter? These kind of thing of research. There, I met with who became my mentor to this day,
Oh,
Alison.
mashallah. And this is what year, like roughly estimate?
Yeah, that was around 2001. There
Oh,
was
mashallah. Okay,
a
so
group
it's-
called Kuwait Shakespeare Theatre.
Oh,
at
and
the time.
he's still your mentor.
Yes, Alison
Mashallah,
Sean Price, MB, and to this day, I give her full credit for giving the opportunities and researching
Yeah.
and value to what she has offered me. Plus, because she was part of the representing for London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, so he brings out like examination, and then takes it to London as part of the curriculum grades
Yeah.
of that and performance. And one of them, which was Shakespeare direct, and we did our first performance of Shakespeare, which
Yeah.
had never done before, and it was a production of Othello.
Othello, yeah.
That was in 2008, my first ever kind of a main character, which was the role of Iago.
Was that the first time you stepped on stage in front of like audiences, or you have been to the stage before?
In Kuwait, yes, in Shakespeare,
Oh,
in
okay.
Kuwait.
Yeah.
But before then, in 2000, and if I'm not mistaken, 2004, my first experience was in the UK,
Oh,
and it was a summer course program, and it
Yeah.
was A Midsummer Night's Dream. So later on, going back with that, and it was the role of Theseus,
Okay.
Duke of Athens. So imagine getting that experience and getting that atmosphere, and then years later, which I thought that was the end of that journey, came Alison Sean Price and offered me this part of Iago in Othello, which the actor who played Othello, Augustin Tachancho, who now lives in Australia, now is a renowned, internationally known actor.
yeah.
We had a similar dynamic in a sense, because, you know, the Iago's character was considered one of the greatest Shakespeare villain ever played, ever created. Sorry for that. To play that sense, you know, getting
It's
deeper.
a lot of complex, you know.
It's a kind of a
Yeah.
complex thing at the age of 18 as well. And not only that, that was the same year I lost my father in
Oh,
2008.
that's-
So I was already in that zone
Yeah.
of losing someone that you really admired, was like a role model to you. At the same time, there was this urge of anger was coming out
Yeah.
at one
So
point.
the role was kind of like your expression of grief.
Expression of grief
Yeah.
and what is like being. And so Iago's kind of character, he lost his sense of repetition of some sort
Yeah.
from Othello. So that was like, you know, combination, and I don't know what that means, you know. So I just like engage that put it all together in a sense. And of course, in the play goes, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Othello, what happens
As with every
as
Shakespeare.
kind of every Shakespeare
Yeah.
kind of role. But it's one of those memorable nights, and never forget. But took a very long time to get out of that character. It took me about nearly 6 months
Oh,
to get out after the show performance ended.
so is it because the character itself is so demanding, or is it because you know, dedicated so much time into the character that it was hard to get out of it?
Well, look, Alison has this great technique
Okay.
of how you build a character
Yeah.
and how you resonate. Like, she gives you a little bit of tips on the method of an actor creating a role, which
Yeah.
is like taking basic of Stanislavski method. And then you have Michael Chekhov. Then you had Plato. You had Peter Brook.
Yeah.
You have all these practitioners. Basically, it's known as a Western practitioners on that basic and how you build a character throughout. So I was using those stylistic
Oh, okay.
as I was
Yeah.
going through it. And then and she keeps on pushing, so I get that character out. And suddenly, behold, there was that Iago. And for that 2 weeks while we were performing, I could not find Hamad at all.
Oh,
So it's
Yeah.
like I was completely in that Iago.
so even like, you know, thoughts and everything was
Thoughts,
just
I would
like
just either-
devoured by the character.
Of course, and
Yeah.
with friends and always a friend, but like, you know, you were in the
Yeah.
zone for that moment, but it somehow the audience loved the way it was performed, and I was thinking to myself, how can I get it out of it? And Alison gave me that great technique on that, how to get out of the character, which it took a while, but has never been like this ever again
Yeah.
until, of course, there have been other variety plays throughout, and then came across in 2016 at the Discovery Mall Theatre, the live theatre,
Okay.
as some of you may remember, was Sweeney Todd the musical.
Sweeney Todd, yeah.
Yeah, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Yeah.
This was another journey what I had to go through, but taking it in a Victorian and a musical as well. Not only you were an actor, you were the artistic director, you were the producer, you were the organizing the whole thing, and you had about nearly 30 to 50 ensemble crews and you had to create that illusion along with Alice and Sean Price of One World Actor Center and a very dear friend Diana Sphere, who has been supporting with us in the play.
But what about these two characters in particular that you got so invested in as opposed to the other characters?
Yes, this because Sweeney Todd was a great role to play, and someone once mentioned and written an article, Michael Ball, the great Michael Ball, said Sweeney Todd is the Macbeth of musicals.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, okay, there is
that
that link between Shakespeare and something in a very melodramatic, operatic, and it's not your tap dance musical or something like that, or
it's a very dark musical.
It's a very dark musical. But over the years, I was saying to myself, why am I in that darkness at some point?
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a lot of more maybe charming and more lively and more, comedy.
Lighthearted roles.
But somehow you felt comfortable in that sense. But as you grew, maybe something to do with the world around, just that character. But it's one of those things, and I decided in 2016, I thought that was my final performance ever done, apart from Evita.
Was it because it was taxing mentally, or why did you think it was the last?
No, it's not taxing mentally at all. It's just I felt I can give more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I wanted to do more. Great performance, great idea, great skills, but I felt there was something more to it. I want to tell more. So I was helping a lot with backstage, as I was telling you.
Oh, is that your segue into behind the scenes work?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So from Sweeney Todd throughout, I decided to help out other friends who have their productions, have their values, what they've done, they need help. So I started doing a lot of stage hands and works and props arrangements like that, just to, not saying avoid performance, but just want to learn that I've seen how I got more in that skill than I did as a performer. And I still love performing on stage. It depends on what's the project, but you just put yourself in that world of the creation.
It's got to be something that clicks.
Something that clicks, And then, of course, the opportunity came in 2019.
Okay.
And that was from the Yermo Culture Center. Every year they do their seasonal play. Alice and Sean Price was one of the was doing on the season every year, and she said, "Would you be interested in directing?" And I was like, "Oh, direct what?" I mean, I'm trying to avoid that part of Sweeney Todd because it really drained me from that musical, but we had a great success with that show. But it's what can be next than Sweeney Todd, and then it says, why not Hamlet? Suddenly that
it all came back.
It all came back to 96 or 97.
It's a full circle.
It's a full circle. As if it was saying it was meant to be. The universal saying it's meant to be. That's what I felt. So I said, absolutely, but who can do that? And we had a great performer with us who lives in the UK now. His name is Yusuf Nasser, who is a very dear friend, and he played the role of Hamlet. And the biggest question was, do you want a period version or you want a contemporary?
Okay,
So this was the challenge.
It's a big challenge as well.
For our audience, because I've seen variety of version of films of Shakespeare done as a contemporary, and seemed to get audience invested so much. So one of them which has said, okay, I've reached the stage now where I said, let me tell it in a sense that, in my thoughts, how I tell a story. So I eliminated most of the characters and just kept the main ones, which from 20 characters, if we read the text itself, to 8 characters. And of course, they'll be multiplying roles and set it. And I told Alison we had 20 version of the script, because to text it and bring it back from 4 hours to 80 minutes. How can you maintain that and yet have audience interested in the play? So I said, why not set it because being a student of psychology as well, I've come to realize that in time, while I was doing performance in theater, it's like my therapy in a sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started looking a bit on basic psychology, on Freud methods or theories and something.
So you're
So
kind of fusing,
combination of
yeah,
that, and
fusing everything together.
that's right.
Yeah.
For the characters, you need to know the psychological as well.
Yeah.
And Hamlet is a man who cannot make up his mind.
Yeah.
So why not go into his zone, to his world, and see how we all think? So this was the huge text, and we did as a workshop at first, and set it in a mental asylum. Why a mental asylum? You know, well, this was the biggest question we had, because it seems at the time, audience loved the idea of a dark kind of thing, and going back to dark
Yeah.
at one point, a psychological issue, and what are these characters are driven around them, and a very limited set minded lights few details, and just about a man. Again, we go back to theory, the man who cannot make up his
Yeah.
mind.
I mean, he is in a way a madman, right? So setting it in an asylum is, very genius way of circumventing all of that.
That's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It can be one theory, he's a madman.
Yeah. And I do want to go further into that,
Absolutely.
but we do have to take a very quick break and we'll come right back. And we're back, and I want to go straight into where we stopped off, is that there is a theory that Hamlet is a madman.
Well, going back to that Hamlet personality, there are terms he could be mad, and there are terms he could be innocent or a victim as well. We call
Yeah.
it victim. We still don't know. That's the beauty about Shakespeare. One thing, even if you set Shakespeare in many different versions, many different themes, it's scary to think.
And it's such an open to interpretation, like all of his works, not just, Hamlet. Speaking
That's
of
right.
Shakespeare in particular. I mean, I was studying the United States for a few years ago, and I remember English teachers with PhDs, all of them, like for the English literature classes, they have different, theses and
That's right.
essays all about the different interpretations of the same Shakespeare plays.
That's right.
It is such an open to interpretation in all of his work.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful to see, and to see the audience engaging with the play.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay, let's try this and let's see this concept. Will the audience be interested in this kind of field of the modernized version, especially telling in a story, which is most relevant into that world at the time?
So you're now setting Hamlet in a mental asylum.
Mental asylum,
Yeah.
in a contemporary, in a modern day
Okay.
relevant of the world that they were facing at the time. And it was a huge hit
Mashallah.
and full house,
Yeah.
and very pleased it came out on the news, and the council, the British Council, they were excited about it as well. And a week later, received a letter from Dame Judi Dench.
Oh, mashallah.
And that was Alison surprised
Yeah.
with the award called the first Dame Judi Dench Shakespeare Award. And I said, what's that? It was like somebody hearing that. And for your recognition over the production over the years with the theatrical world at the
Oh.
time. So Dame Judi Dench, if you might recall, was the woman who won the Oscar for playing Queen Elizabeth in Shakespeare in Love 1998.
Yeah.
And of course known for playing M
She's
in the
she's
James
a
Bond
movie icon.
That's right,
Yeah.
the movie icon. And to receive a letter from her is like, it's got
Right,
recognition for Kuwait and presenting Kuwait, an honor for her to be mentioning. That's highest to achieve, alhamdulillah. So we felt this is the right time to really put on a next project, and that's what happened. We were coming up with the next Shakespeare, and then of course the pandemic, COVID, that stopped around the world at the time. So of course waited until the right time to come to put on the play. Then came across 2021 with the new season coming up, but a year after the pandemic, to put on, I think 21 or 22, something like that, was another Shakespeare play called The Tempest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this is like one of Shakespeare's last play, final years of his life, but not as commercial as Hamlet.
Yeah.
So we took that risk and said, let's do that little bit of an island story about reuniting, and it was kind of like a post-pandemic about how to be family reunited again.
Oh yeah. So
So
there are like double meanings to
double
the
meaning to it.
story. Yeah.
Well, the play was setting in an island.
Yeah.
So one, we set the contemporary, but let's have a look at the idea of a classroom. And
Oh,
they said,
okay.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
So the students, on the other hand, we said, let's lose their imagination. Let's say this main character, who is basically a sorcerer, a wizard,
Yeah.
at one point of the island, is a professor in a sense.
Oh, okay.
And it's sort of
Yeah.
like a Harry
see
Potter
it,
kind
yeah.
of Lord of the Ring
Yeah.
vibe in a way. And have the children who are reading the passage from the Tempest, they create that island.
Oh.
So we had about 6 to 7 children who are basically Ariel's character in the novel, in the script. And they somehow they read the text, and suddenly they were engaged into this island they built. So that was like a huge turn. Usually you start from the storm, which starts in the storm, the
Yeah.
Tempest call. But we decided to set it on a classroom set because that's where the magic comes about. The creation comes from young child's mind. Again, going back to conscious.
It is. And I like how you creatively, twist those stories to, modernize them, but at the same time keep the essence of their classicality.
That's right.
Right? Like, you've spoken about Hamlet being set in a mental asylum, and then the Tempest on an island for a classroom. But what about the dialogue? Have you tweaked any of the dialogue, or kept it?
Well, we didn't change the dialogue or anything at all. We just kept it as what Shakespeare wrote.
Yeah.
We just had to trim it, as we call it. There are times where it's necessary for such lines to be explained,
Yeah.
or just too long for the performers and theaters, and because plus we had the limited amount of time to tell the story.
Yeah.
I think at the time, yes, 2 hours and 3 hours could be worth it, but like, let's have a straight through it
Yeah.
for about 80 minutes, top notch. 80, 90 minutes, we tell the entire story. That's what we've done. And we kept the dialogue, and we had a great expertise dramaturgers like Alison Sean Price, Brian McLaughlin, Nadir Abdullah, Leila Al-Qadhi.
Yeah.
These were like, expertise on the Shakespeare dialogue. Is that accurate? Is that correct?
Oh,
Is that
okay.
so? We had about
Yeah.
4 or 5 different dramaturgies saying, you put that, we take the text out, we sometimes bring the lines back. That's the whole draft here and there
Yeah.
and here and there. So we're trying to keep it as close as possible.
Yeah. It's going
to
through so many filtering process, but at the same time, it's keeping the same essence.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And keeping the main that everybody are familiar with,
yeah.
And alhamdulillah, it was a great experience.
Alhamdulillah.
And did other kind of activities and such. And then came the big one, which is Macbeth.
Macbeth. Yeah.
And that was when the next season came out, and then we had a huge discussion with the cast and crews, and they all decided on Macbeth. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, and look, it is a well-known play, and
Yeah.
everybody is familiar with it, and it's been done 1,000 times. We're saying, why should we do something that's been done a number of times? But I think it was the right time because we had the right cast.
Oh, okay.
We had the right team, and Nadir Abdullah, who was with us for so many years, and I considered one of the greatest Shakespeare actor we have in Kuwait at the moment.
Yeah.
Along with our dear friend now, who's our future, will be Asa Haitham,
Yeah.
will be part of that generation to come. And and I said, this guy is going to do it, Macbeth. He has to play him. And he's like, he lives local, and he's just amazed. So, again, where you want to set the play, where you want to do it. So we decided to take the foresight of the theater, which is for the Yarmouk Culture Center,
Yeah.
to become a 4-figure, and have the
Okay.
center part to be the cauldron, because
Okay.
it says
Yeah.
cauldron born
Yeah.
and the witches. And so we did a bit of multicolor layers and and these were done by our group of teams with us. That
okay,
they put
yeah.
on, they put the effort, they put in, and the guy who did the costume, Fed Awad, fantastic with the piece.
Yeah.
And it took about a year to
MashaAllah.
set that whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Especially the first 2 months was the script.
Yeah.
Is it right? Is it true? Is it try to keep it as it is? But this was quite long, but we decided to continue on with the play throughout. And the audience were just packed with that. And this was sort of like a Game of Thrones kind of vibe.
Yeah, because like you said, everyone knows Macbeth, but
No.
everyone knows Macbeth for a reason. Like, even for someone like me who hasn't read a lot of Shakespeare, I know Macbeth, I know the story because
That's-
it's so popular. It's so
That-
good.
That's what's really surprised me.
Yeah.
Why? And I keep on telling them, what is about Macbeth that somehow
Yeah.
engaging audience? Is it because the tragedy, is it short? Is it about kings and queens and wars and battles and spirits and such, But it's all of that element in one.
Yeah, it
you know?
has such a broad ideas that
That's right.
applies to all aspects of cultures and worlds and countries that a lot of people can find themselves
That's true.
or know something about Macbeth.
Yes.
Yeah,
And this was like a huge turn, and surprisingly, and to see an audience engaging on that play and being
Yeah.
at support, very blessed from that, and never had like this experience like that. I was really surprised. But the effort of the cast and the crews putting that show on together was magic.
Yeah.
Was magic. And this, imagine, from 97, the first time watching that, and suddenly Universal comes back. It's like this was meant to be,
Yeah.
to direct this play.
Yeah, honestly, because the first time you were exposed to Macbeth, and then that kind of ignited your Shakespeare love, and now into Macbeth. And the first time you're exposed to Hamlet is the first time you're exposed to Hamlet as a director. So it's like, yes, like the universe is telling you, oh, you're on the right path. This is what you must do. You haven't made any wrong decisions. Yeah.
But there are times you are thinking, of course, you have your doubts, like, did I did it right? Did I did what's precise to how, if Will was alive, which would have been possible 400 years from now. It's like, would he like it,
Yeah.
But there, of course, very blessed with that, and that was a huge thing to be thankful, and the support we had after that show was like huge.
And honestly, I want to comment again on that particular word, the support, because if I could take anything from your story, is the amount of overwhelming support you've had from your aunt taking you to the play, from your dad showing you the movie, to your secular friends, to your mentors, to your tutors, to your team. Like the amount of support and the amount of great company you've had throughout all of this is so, it's such an admirable thing, honestly.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. It is, when the universe and see that you what you've worked so hard,
Yeah.
they know it is the time is coming for you
Yeah.
to set and how you want it, because the more you keep on putting forward the idea, it will come eventually. Yeah.
And because we're running out of time, I do want to leave you with one last question I think is gonna, encapsulate this episode. What is it about Shakespeare, that keeps drawing you into it?
Shakespeare was an influencer of its time.
Yeah.
He was the social media. He understood human emotions.
Yeah.
He understood the behaviors. He understood the classes. He understood the way audience would impact on theater.
Yeah.
And will be long gone in time. Well, Shakespeare's legacy will go on forever and ever and ever. His plays will speak to millions and millions of people around the world, and it's been done already.
Yeah.
And it's still, to me, I still consider Shakespeare still a box office. It's just getting the right time.
Yeah, I mean,
to bring back.
we're talking about arguably the best, the greatest English writer of all time.
That's right.
Yeah. And with that, I do want to thank you. This was honestly very amazing. It was very entertaining. It was very eye-opening, especially to hear so much love for Shakespeare here locally, and the amount of names you've mentioned, even those locals. It just brings so much joy that there's a lot of passion and curiosity about this very, I would say, forgotten art in modern history.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And with that, that was all of the time we've had. So stay tuned until we come back after the break. Unfortunately, that was all of the time we've had with Hamad AlJenaei. Another great episode. Honestly, the main takeaway from this episode is that support, support, support. He'd had incredible circle of friends and families who supported him, who guided him to this path from very early ages. So with that in mind, I do want to take a moment to thank all of those people who dedicate the time to support their loved ones, right? Putting them on a very helpful and amazing career path. With that in mind, I do want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in for today's episode. But unfortunately, that was all the time we've had. And until next time, goodbye for now.